Hey there, welcome to Professor Pearl, a YouTube channel about knitting. I'm Nicole, and today we're going to talk about little scarves. Have you knit a little scarf? I've made 3 Sophie scarves and a 4th other kind of scarf, which I'll share about today. And I just love these little scarves. After making 3 Sophie scarves, I've been craving a different type of little scarf. And so the point of today is to give love to little scarves and other little scarves besides the Sophie scarf. The Sophie scarf's amazing. I've made 3 of them. I have a video about it already that'll be linked below. But I've been craving to make something else besides the Sophie scarf, and so I'm going to share about that today. Okay, just a quick overview on the off chance that you don't know what a Sophie scarf is by Petite Knit. It is this little scarf. And you can wrap it around twice, as I have, or you can wear it once. It comes in 2 different sizes. I share all about that and styling in my other Sophie scarf specific video. I think one of the things that's very attractive about the Sophie scarf, it's this little thing that looks cute with your outfit, and it's very meditative and therapeutic to knit because it has some interest, but it's not overly complicated either. It's something that's great for a beginner or an advanced knitter, anybody in between. And so there's a lot of pros to the Sophie scarf and why people love it so much. I mean, I've made 3. In my video, I shared that I had desires to make a 4th and a 5th and just to keep knitting Sophie scarves. And I never did. Spoiler alert, I never made a 4th Sophie scarf. And I'm not sure that I will again. And it's not that I don't love it, but I've made it 3 times and I'm kind of ready to move on. But I was craving to make another little scarf. So I made this one. I made this one out of Explorer Knits, their Rocky's DK base in the color Sagrada Familia. And it's got a nod to the Sophie scarf in the sense that I can wrap it around twice like this, but it's a little different in that the rate of increases and decreases at the ends here is different, and there's some slip stitch edging instead of I-cord and a little slip stitch detail in the center. And so it looks a little different when I style it on, but it was so nice to knit something that I like in my wardrobe, like a little scarf, but is also a little different. And so today I'm going to share my Ravelry bundle. If you use Ravelry, the link to my bundle I've created of these patterns is linked below. And if you don't use Ravelry, I'm going to show pictures of some of these patterns on this video. And I'm going to walk through some of these and what stood out to me and why I added them to my Ravelry bundle called Little Scarves. The first little scarf in my Ravelry bundle is the Sweet Little Scarfette. And what stood out to me about this was 2 things. What caught my eye was the bright kind of chartreuse, yellowy, greeny, bright color. I don't have a little scarf like that in my wardrobe, and I think something super bright like that would be amazing. So the color popped out, and then when I looked at it, I was like, oh, it looks fuzzy. And so that really drew me in. And what's really just sweet about this, and it even says sweet in the title of the design, is that it's a very traditional looking ascot. So with the Sophie scarf, of course, you can wear it wrapped around once instead of twice as I have it. However, it's going to have a longer tail then. But this is just a sweet little ascot, a very traditional looking ascot. And I just think it's darling, particularly in a bright color. If you go to the pattern page, you can see it's done in quite a variety of different colors. I think somebody even did an ombre yarn. Somebody put a pin in the center of it, which is just amazing. I love this, and it's a free pattern. Free. pretty neat. Okay, along those lines, so it's also an ascot, is a scarf that's called the berry scarf. So this stood out to me as well because it's a very traditional looking ascot. However, it's knit with thicker yarn, so it's a worsted weight gauge, and it has some texture to it. So it's again a sweet little ascot, but this time with baubles, which I think is the nod to the berry scarf. And the other design feature on this is it looks like there's some sort of maybe hole so that the ends can be inserted in to kind of lay flat. So I think that's a nice design feature, and this is also free. The berry scarf is also free, which is pretty neat. Okay, the next scarf in my lineup here of little scarves is the party line scarf. Now this one, this one really stood out to me because garter. When I'm knitting a little scarf like this, it's sometimes because I want to knit something that's a portable or a travel project. And so this has a lot of garter, which is exciting. It looks like it has an I-cord edging like the Sophie Scarf, which is nice. I think it's a really nice clean finish. It's a different shape than Sophie Scarf, and it has some little eyelets in it, so that's fun. And I think as I knit the Sophie Scarf, sometimes there was a little bit of boredom sometimes of like, it's a lot of garter, and so the idea that you could be like trying to get to the next eyelet row with the party line scarf seems like a really fun feature. What is a tiny scarf, and like what do we count as this? I'm going to count bandanas type things as little scarves. So there's one that's called the Willetta bandana. Now this one is styled as a little scarf, but it's also styled as a headscarf, and that stood out to me as like a unique feature. I also really loved the texturing on it. They kind of look like butterflies. I think it's really sweet. I can see styling this in so many different ways, particularly with these like kind of, maybe they're double knitting, but these like long double knitting kind of ties. Next up, and I've seen this on a lot of the YouTube channels and podcasts I watch, which is the small fry scarf. This one, I think can be styled much like how I'm wearing this one, which is wrapped around double or in a cute little knot. Where it departs from the Sophie Scarf in a really fun way is it looks like there's this really meditative texture to it, so it wouldn't just be garter. It looks like there's a texturing to it, and what's special about this sort of texture is it looks like it could be something that has a lot of rhythm to it, where it would be something that you're just, tied to your pattern. What's next? I think you could get into a flow with it, and it could have some interest. I think this would look so good with a solid. This is knit in a sport weight yarn, which I think that can be really fun because with sport weight, I think there's some flexibility in terms of like if you have a DK yarn, you could use it, or if you have like a fingering and mohair you want to hold together for that, do it. And of course, you just use sport weight yarn. Okay, this one I regret that I haven't cast on. I just, as soon as this pattern was released, pulled my yarn balls out and I was like, I'm gonna cast this on, and just life got in the way and I didn't. But this is the Bessie scarf. I just think this is a unique construction. A lot of these little scarves are knit end to end, and I think it's clear from looking at this that this is not knit end to end, and that you're actually kind of like, it looks like you're knitting it on the bias from the length, and I think that's really unique. Though it has a lot of garter to it, the other unique feature to it is it looks like it's going to have increases and decreases to make it on the bias, and it also has eyelets, and I just think it's a really classic, beautiful little scarf that you could have in your wardrobe for many years, and it could be fun to even like make hats and other accessories to match it. It's so cute. The next one that stood out to me is the knitting badge neckerchief. What stood out to me was just sort of the styling and the model, because it looks like Nicholas, the designer, is wearing this on a hike, and I just love knitwear on a hike. So if I'm being honest, it's the first thing that drew me. But there's all these like, almost looks like drop stitches lace, and I just think that that can make it stretch out really nice or wear really thin. And so it's styled kind of rolled thin, which I think is cute. And this is a free Ravelry download here. I think that this may be knit with fingering weight yarn, but looking at the design, I think you could go either way. Like you could probably use, I mean, honestly, any size yarn that you want. And it would just turn out bigger if you used yarn bigger than the pattern suggests. And I can see this being a really nice way to use some summer fibers like cotton or linen, and just something when you, like, I live in the Pacific Northwest, and so even when it's summer, if you are going on a hike or something early in the morning, it's cold, it's cool. And so I can just see this being truly just a wonderful hiking accessory. Next up in my Ravelry bundle is the Itsy Bitsy Ascot. And so, as I mentioned earlier in this video, I love a kind of French nod, traditional ascot, not this sort of like double. I mean, I like this too, but I love the single little sweetness, and that's what this is with stockinette. Very cute, and it has a different look than the other ones I shared. And yeah, I think this would be a really good one for some variegated yarn you might have, or some speckled yarn that you might have. It's very sweet. The next one I'm going to share was actually shared in my Sophie Scarf video. So when I made a Sophie Scarf video, I ended up getting a lot of views and probably like so many comments, but a consistent comment that happened throughout was, hey, you should check out this pattern called The Simple Thing. And so that's what I have up here, The Simple Thing, and it really looks a lot like the Sophie Scarf. Like, this is not the Simple Thing scarf, but it really looks like it. And it's free. Check that out if you want. Saw this one, I was like, oh my goodness, so cute. So, and this would be really nice for a fall winter transition, which is, and it's even called that, Autumn Comes. I was like, it's really good for the fall winter, and that's literally its name. Okay, so it's a fingering held with a mohair, and much like the small fry, where I was like, oh, that's such beautiful texture, that's how I feel about this. It's such beautiful texture. I think I just really like the ends on this, like how it comes up. And look, you can just knit this one as long as you want. So if you're like, I don't know about small scarves, make it a long scarf. This one looks like it could be really readily adapted to be a long scarf and look really good as a long scarf as well. The next one up is the Airy Breeze. This one stood out to me because it could be styled like what I'm wearing here, but it has some interest, some lace, which is, I thought, really fun. Sometimes with lace, I don't feel like I like to knit kind of a variegated yarn like this because I feel like the lace gets lost. But the type of lace this is, it looks like you could use any yarn you wanted. It's a very geometric lace, which I think can really lend itself well to using a variegated or a speckled yarn. All right, next up is the Vineyard Scarf. The name of this one really got me. I really love wine tasting, and so the name, also the pattern too, but I love the name Vineyard Scarf, and I totally can see myself wearing this while wine tasting. Like the one I just showed and the small fry scarf, this one looks like it has a beautiful texture which will lend itself to tonal yarn really well. And I think what I really like about this texture and the other texture ones I've shown is this looks like something that you could find a rhythm with. And so like it could be a very meditative knit even though there is texture. The next one up is the Soul Sister Scarf. One thing that's like very fun about this is it looks like it's offered in multiple sizes. So the very first picture is almost this like kind of red, vibrant, orangey red scarf, and it's almost worn more like an ascot. And then the other one is very scarf-like, like doesn't belong in the little scarf section. So I think that's fun that one pattern can offer you two different options of something that's going to be like cozy winter with your jacket sort of scarf, and then the other one's more like a styling piece with a sweater without a jacket, with a jacket, whatever. And this one also has this beautiful, beautiful texture. I really like that stitch. Next little scarf I really want to share, but I don't know how to pronounce the name. It's like shell pich. I'm sorry, it's free. It says here, the word that I didn't pronounce well means a little shell in Dutch. And this is so pretty. Looks like it's done with two different colors, and it's absolutely darling. And since it's done with two different colors, maybe you could get two different scarves out of it. You knit it with fingering weight, so it's going to be just a lovely, I imagine, a lovely weight for a little scarf. And the way this is styled is really fun. It looks like there's 4 different ways, if not more, that you could style this. Speaking of styling, that is what drew me to this little scarf, which is the polka grease scarf. I just love the stripes, but I also loved how it was styled with this itty bitty kind of knot in front. Oh my goodness. And the back has this very like trapezoidal look to it. I just really like that one a lot. The last scarf I'm going to talk about is the Thelma scarf, and this one looks so sweet and could be styled very ascot like, and to me it's got a nod towards the Bessie scarf, where it has this like lots of kind of garter, eyelets, bias, and I just think it's a very sweet project as well. And you could use any kind of yarn you wanted with this, whether it's a bright solid one or a speckled or a variegated. And it says that you're using lace weight yarn for this. I don't know if I would want to personally knit a scarf out of lace weight yarn, but I mean, you could easily, that's the fun thing about these scarves, is you could really just replace it with whatever yarn you want. Just pay attention to how the size of it is turning out. So those are some, not all, of the little scarves that delighted me that I put in a Ravelry bundle. Thanks so much for watching this. I found great delight in sharing the little scarves that inspire me and that I'm excited about. I hope it provides you some inspiration for your little scarf knitting journey. If there's a little scarf that you just love and I did not mention it, or it's not in the Ravelry bundle that's linked below, let me know. Just comment below and I will add it to that Ravelry bundle for everybody. I'm happy to add things in there. On that note, I will say I also have 2 crochet little scarves that are in the Ravelry bundle, and that's because I'm a novice crocheter, and I was thinking it would be fun to just have those in there for me so that in case I ever want to try to crochet a little scarf, I do have that as an option in my bundle. But I didn't go searching little crochet scarves, so this video was primarily just about little knit scarves. So if you liked this video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye.